G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. As always, it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to entertain you as we talk about the greatest game in the world, rugby. And yes, we are already on the road, first step towards the next greatest sporting event in the world. That is the Rugby World Cup 2031. We are 8 years away from that magnificent event that will surely be unforgivable once again. And oh boy, I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready for 2031. USA, here we go, boys. And obviously, the most important thing coming out of Rugby World Cup is the Rugby World Rankings. And so obviously, the Springboks has beaten the New Zealand All Blacks by 1 point in a very close game. Lots of controversies. We'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, the Springboks has completely skyrocketed themselves to the top of the table, and that is because as per the rules of Rugby World Cup, the points exchange are double just for the final. So the New Zealanders actually wasn't that far behind when they go into the match at the 23rd of October. So yeah, they're actually just a bit over 1 point behind. But because it's the final, the point exchanges are doubled. So New Zealand actually lost a bit more than what they would normally would if this is just a typical match. And this is done just to make sure that, you know, the number one team in the world truly gets the number one spot in the Rugby World Rankings. They do this every year. And that is just, you know, giving Ireland a chance to get back in the second place. I mean, Ireland has built so many points over that massive 17-win streak. Not to mention very few losses before that as well. So yeah, they show that accumulation of points and still holds themselves second spot after New Zealand's double point loss to South Africa. So yes, and Wallabies has dropped to 77.48. I actually never thought I would see the Wallabies in the 70s in terms of the points. And boy, the Wallaroos, are they called? Are actually higher ranked than the men. They probably beat the men's team, to be honest. Yeah, this is I never thought I would see this ever, and it's happening. It's happening. But good news for me is that the Rugby Championship will be played 2 test matches in Australia, okay, against the Springboks, which means, according to the calculations, if we win both games against the Springboks in Australia, we'll be able to get 5.71 points, and that will put us back, well, not even close to top 5, but at least on the 7th spot, right? So yes, this will be really important just because of point difference, and we're playing at home. So I have devised a little plan, okay? So first up, the games will be played in North Queensland, in the heat, and it'll be 35 degrees, and it'll be played at lunchtime. So it'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning in South Africa, so all the players will be jet-lagged, all the Springboks will be jet-lagged, right? And that's the first step to winning the back-to-back win over the Springboks. Number 2, we're going to put 8 forwards on the bench, okay? I'm going to put 2 locks as centers, all right? And all we're going to do for this entire game is mauls, okay? No going to the tackle, more. Line out, more. Scrum, turn that into a maul somehow, all right? We're just going to maul the whole game, and we just need Quade Cooper to kick goals, and we're going to maul them from one end of the field to the other end, and yes, we're going to wear them down with a 4-pack, all right? And in the second half, you know what? I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, hey, the bomb squad's going to come on, then your maul's going to be stopped, right? No. Second half, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take off both wingers. We're going to put 2 more locks on the wing. And then we're going to do more with 13 players. Actually, no. We're going to take off the halfback too and put on another lock at halfback because let's face it, right? We're just going to do more, so we don't really need the halfback to pass the ball around. We're just going to pick and go. So in the second half, there'll be more with 13 players in it. So only 2 players that are not going to be in it is Quade Cooper, who'll be kicking the goals. And then let's put Vinivalu at a fullback, right? Because we know the Springboks are going to kick the ball to us. And we'll just make sure that we don't kick it back. So we'll put Vinivalu there because he can't kick. And then Vinivalu will just, whenever he gets the ball, he'll run to the closest forward and just hand them the ball. And we're going to set up another maul, right? And that's how we're going to beat the Springboks. That's how we beat the Springboks. An easy 5.7 points. Put us back in conditions. And yes, that's the strategy. That's the plan. Yeah, Rugby Australia, you're welcome. We'll get it done. Okay, 2 wins over the Springboks, 2024. Let's do it, right? I know this is Argentina's schedule, but the schedule will be the same as 2022. it's very hard to find information, but I've read it somewhere. I couldn't find the article, but it's going to be the same as 2022, where there'll be 2 games against Australia in Australia. There will be 2 games against New Zealand at home. So the Springboks will get two All Blacks games at home, 1 game each for against Argentina, 1 at home and 1 away. So this is Argentina's schedule, but yeah, it's going to be the same schedule as the 2022 schedule. So yeah. With that being said, let's have a look at. We don't want to talk too much about Eddie Jones and all the stuff because I've already got a rant video out. You can go look at that. So I've had enough of his toxicity and had enough of his lies. I don't care about his opinions because he's all just lies anyway. So sooner he retires, sooner people stop looking at his stupid comments, sooner people stop caring about him, the better. So we're not going to talk about anything about Eddie Jones. So we're just going to move on from that, all right? Ian Foster, yeah. It's really sad, the post-match function, watching Ian Foster talking about, backing up Sam Cane. The one thing that, Ian Foster, a lot of people, I think probably hurt him a little bit, a lot, is that he has so much respect to his players. He loves his players very much. A lot of people say, Ian Foster's not picking the players in form, not, always pick the same players because Ian Foster really has a tremendous amount of love and passion for his players. He really truly cares about the players that that plays for him. Unlike some people, right? Unlike Eddie Jones, right? He's and it is hard, and sometimes he may not have made the right decisions in the selections because of his because how much he cares about the players and difficult conversations he's gonna have with the players. And the Sam Cane got red card. He still came out and backed Sam Cane. Todd said that he's a good captain. He did not bash the referee, and he just copped it in the chin like a true world class coach that he always has been. Ian Foster has been. A lot of these players, even Sam Warlock, were under Ian Foster as when Ian Foster was assistant coach. So a lot of these players are basically growing up with Ian Foster, like a fatherly figure, probably almost, right? So yeah, it's really heartbreaking to see this. He's going to be leaving for the All Blacks. But yeah, I do think that the way that New Zealand rugby treated him over the years was just we've already talked about it in the post-match interview. I thought it was just disgraceful. I mean, you can talk about if he's it's my job to bash Ian Foster for being back because I'm a critic and I'm obviously Australian as well. But I think that for the New Zealand rugby themselves to bash Ian Foster and then to announce his replacement before the Rugby World Cup is just deplorable. Your job as New Zealand rugby is to assist Ian Foster and to make sure that whatever he's missing, whatever he needs, why the team's not performing, especially considering how many years, over a decade, I think, before he took over the All Blacks, that he put into the team. They need to just back him and give him what he needs to get the team back on track. And instead of trying to replace him, trying to backstab him, trying to talk about in the media about sacking him, it was quite disgraceful. But, Ian Foster can hold his head high. Nobody expects him to get to the finals. And it was just 50-50 balls everywhere, cost him the match, essentially. Yeah, a lot of emotions from Ian Foster. I'm gonna miss him. He's a fun guy. He's difference in opinion, but I always have a lot of respect for Ian Foster. Adi Savea has been named Player of the Year, and I think that a lot of people will probably remember him for having a discussion with Barnsley. Barnsley gave away a penalty, issued a penalty against him, where a replay showed that he actually. Barnsley said he didn't release after the tackle before he jackled on the ball, and the replay showed he did release. And Barnsley basically said that, "Oh, I'm sorry, mate. Look, I didn't see the replay," which is interesting. So there could be a couple of things that a lot of people have been talking about. Now, if Barnsley saw that and admitted that he was wrong, should he just reverse the penalty? And also, should the TMO step in and try to tell the Barnsley he's got the call wrong? So I think we've seen referees in the past that reverse, wrong decisions. They make a decision. They're like, okay, no, that's actually a wrong decision. I saw it wrong. We've seen that happen even in this Rugby World Cup. But this is Barnsley. I think Barnsley made the mistake to actually admit it on a live mic that he's called it wrong. I think Barnsley should have just, stuck to his guns and said that, I didn't think there was enough release during the live game, during the live action, and just leave it at that. So yeah, this has left the door open with a lot of a lot of discussions about whether or not the referee, the TMOs, are just overextending the TMO especially overextending, their role in rugby. So Steve Hanson has come out and basically made 2 points. One, he thinks that the TMOs have way too much control over the match in terms of reviewing yellow cards, reviewing red cards. And two, he thinks that, TMO probably, again, it's kind of like contradicting, probably should have stepped in when Barnsley made the wrong call. And he's calling for World Rugby to have a look at that, which I do agree. So let's have a breakdown of 2 points. Let me tell you what I think, right? Number one, I think the TMO is not a fault when they're interjecting into the match. It's the player and the coach's issue for not getting the tackle technique down correctly, right? So you really can't blame the TMO for being too involved in the game when they're just there to pick up the issues that the players have been made. If you don't want a TMO to be involved, make sure your players don't make silly tackles, right? So I don't agree with that. Because also if the TMO don't get involved, people are gonna get even more enraged after the game, calling the referee a cheat for not able to pick up all the little issues, all the headshots, high contacts in the game, right? So that's so the TMO definitely has to be involved because sometimes it's just too much for the referee to pick up all the issues. The referee can make mistakes. So that point, I don't agree with Steve Hanson. I think it's on the players and the coaches to make sure that they keep the TMO out of the decision making by not doing silly things. That's number one. Number two, I do agree with Steve Hanson here. If there's an issue, if there's a mistake on field, the TMO should be able to at least advise the referee that a wrong decision has been made and that it should be reversed instead of just being like, oh, well, it's been called. That's obviously it is. I think it's the current rules don't allow TMO to reverse decisions on the field. It's up to the discretion of the referee. Still, when it comes to penalties, and the discretion of Wayne Barnes is that despite he made his decision and his decision is final. So maybe they can look at that clarity on obviously they don't want TMO to get more involved, like to have him to come in and make decisions on every penalty and try to tell the referee whether he's right or wrong. Obviously, don't want to do that. But in a clear case where like something like this, they can just give him advice, maybe something that has there needs to be a balance, right? You don't want a TMO to come in every play and bring out the microscope and we're gonna have a 3-hour game of rugby. But then you also don't want TMO to completely miss massive calls like this where it would cost the team 3 points as well. So yeah, this was a difficult one, but I do agree with Hanson's point of World Rugby needs to have a look at this. So next up, we've got the All Blacks new changing of guards. Razor is going to be coming in for Ian Foster. Razor has been a reigning Super Rugby, one of the most dominant Super Rugby. Crusaders has always been dominant, but he's probably the most dominant reign, I think, for the Crusader, if not, one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant reign as the Crusaders head coach. And he's been brilliant, especially in 2023, the current season of Super Rugby. The Crusaders actually suffered an overwhelming number of injuries and just having literally call back players out of retirement to fill in for spots, like in I think the front rowers spots, and they still won Super Rugby. Not just won Super Rugby, dominated the competition all the way through to the final. And then in a match where they were underdogs against the Chiefs, away, still pulled out a win. And that shows like the process and just the preparation that is done behind the scenes to prep so many players I haven't even heard of. Most of the players aren't even in the All Blacks team. That was like what, like maybe like a couple of players playing in the semi-final, quarterfinal, leading into the final just due to injuries, and they were still able to win it quite comfortably. It was quite amazing piece of coach work from Razor. So yeah, look forward for him to bring that process into the All Blacks and for the dynasty to continue at the top level. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's time for the All Blacks. Yeah, the Springboks now. Let's move on to the Springboks. Obviously, the one for me, dream come true for Dion Fourie. I talked about this in the post match. He had to play 75 minutes or so. As an early injury to Bungi Bunabi. Dion Fourie, he debuted at 35. He's currently 37. I was wrong. I thought it was 36. And oldest person to debut for the Springboks, at 35, and to win the World Cup is during that period as well. Towards the end of his career, is just absolutely amazing. Also, he played pretty much the full game of the World Cup match, pushed through the pain, and he was the captain on the field after Sia Khaleesi came off because Bunga Manabe was the vice captain and he's injured. So he was the captain on the field as well when the Springboks won the match. And I mean, what a legend. Dream, rugby dream coming true at his most amazing display. And, he talked about how he was hurting everywhere. And, man, what a legend, what a display. There was some talk about Bodie Barrett not shaking with this guy. I think he's the president of the South Africa. No shaking his hands. And it turned out it was just like some weird camera and goodbye. But honestly, why would you shake his hand? He's a politician. Who cares? And he's a corrupt politician. Who cares? I wouldn't shake his hands. I mean, give him a fucking medal and let's move on, right? You're like, what did you do to get on this stage? Like, honestly, So yeah, that's just if it didn't actually happen, but if Jordie Barrett did that, I would be 100% in support of Jordie Barrett. And so yes, Malcolm Marx was a massive injury for the Springboks, and one of the reasons Dion Fourie had to play 77 minutes as well. Malcolm Marx's knee injury has been suffered a knee injury, right? I think pretty sure it's a knee injury. Is it a knee injury? I'm pretty sure pretty sure it's a knee injury. But anyway, he's not going to be able to play next year at all. So his club, the Japanese club Kabuto Spears, have replaced him with Dan Coles from the current All Blacks team for the 2020 for the next season of the Japan 1 League. Cheslin Kobe has been cited still wearing his strappings 3 days later. I'm concerned, right? Like, your skin will be like if you try to take that off now, it's gonna rip your skin off, mate. Like, somebody needs to take him to the hospital to get that off. And Rassie Erasmus, there was a lot of talk. Obviously, his contract, I'm pretty sure he's extended. His contract was supposed to end at the current World Cup, but I'm pretty sure he's extended 2 years beyond. So he's at least, not 2 years, I think 1 year, 1 or 2 years beyond, at least 1 year beyond the Rugby World Cup. It was supposed to end at the World Cup, but they have extended him. So there are some talks about, whether he's going to coach England rugby, but I think everybody knows where Rassie's going to go after he's done, playing the king at the Springboks. He's coming to the Wallabies, mate. Everybody knows. He's coming to the Wallabies. He's going to take over Rugby Australia, not just as the head coach, but as the CEO, chairman, and the entire board. Okay, he's going to take over all of them by himself and fix everything. Okay? And back-to-back champions for the Wallabies as well. Okay? That's what's going to happen. I'm calling it. Next up, the Japan Top League. 40% of participants in the Rugby World Cup final are their players. Yeah, I've talked about this in my Eddie Jones rant. Japan Rugby is hugely damaging to Super Rugby, to rugby all around the world, and they're producing absolutely nothing. They're actually taking away opportunities from their own players to develop, and we saw it from the Rugby World Cup. They couldn't make it out of the pool, and they went from beating Scotland and Ireland, what was it? Yeah, Scotland, Ireland in their pool in 2019 to make it out to not making it out of the pool at all this year, right? Like, they have moved backwards in a pool that's much easier than they were in 2019. So yeah, I hope the Japan president, all the corporate sponsors finally sees what the president is doing in Japan and just really start pull the money out and just realizing what a massive waste of money the Japan Rugby has been doing in recent times, and whilst damaging all the other competitions around the world by poaching players and coaches everywhere. So yeah, Six Nations. There's some talks about Six Nations becoming, permanently free to air. It has been free to air in Europe, but they wanted to put it into the laws just to make sure that it will be a permanent free to air fixture, and privatization will not take over. And I've already talked about Eddie Jones, but Quay made a comment about after Eddie Jones called him not obsessive enough about winning. And Quay is right. Basically, Quay talked about that. The winning and success is through preparation. It's not through, a guaranteed outcome on the field. Something that Eddie Jones don't seem to understand. And we saw the results. Poorly prepared kids that hardly won a game in Super Rugby got thrown onto the field and was expected to win and take the team into the quarterfinals. Wasn't going to happen because Eddie Jones failed catastrophically off the field. Dave Humphreys has been added into the Ireland setup. He's a former Ireland fly half, and he's going to be the performance director, and it's going to be replacing David Nucifora. And then we've got some talks about the replacement for Eddie Jones at Rugby Australia. Robbie Deans has already put his hand up, saying that he won't be joined. He's been a very successful coach in Japan. I think his team, Panasonic Wild Knights, has been reigning champions. They only lost last year they only lost like the first time like last year to whichever team. But yeah, anyways, what Robbie Deans has said, he's not gonna take the job, and he thinks that Australia Rugby needs to look internally for their player. That the truth of the matter is, right? The truth of the matter is, no one with self-respect will come in to coach Rugby Australia until this guy, the chairman who did this whole thing, sacking Dave Rennie, bringing Eddie Jones, 10 months away from the Rugby World Cup. Until this guy goes, no one with self-respect will join Rugby Australia, and he's absolutely the worst. He's the idiot that offered Joseph Swali'i the biggest contract ever to play on the wing from Rugby League. At 19 years of age, who has never won anything substantial in his whole life, can't even be selected to play Origin, can't even be selected to play for Australia, and he plays for Samoa instead. He decided he's the guy that made that decision, right? Whilst domestic players are going overseas to play in Japan because apparently the Rugby Australia can't afford to keep them. Just absolutely awful, this guy. It's him and the entire board needs to go. Just absolutely awful. And I mean, who is going to join? Some talks about potentially getting who are they talking about? I mean, the CEO came out with Phil Ward and apologized. Like, I don't need you to apologize. Get rid of the rot, right? I don't need your apologies. Your apologies are worthless, right? You're all idiots. Everybody in the country knows that. Just get rid of him. All right, I don't need empty words. I need to see legitimate action. And there's some talks about bringing in Mark Latham. I hope he doesn't, because it'll be just a joke. He's gonna get his career buried. Checker, I hope he won't. Hasn't. I hope he doesn't join. I highly doubt he will. He's had a tough time with Raylene Castle. I'm sure he's definitely gonna look at the current situation. Not gonna come back. There's some talks about Darren Coleman, the former assistant coach to the New South Wales Waratahs, taking over. I mean, he's probably the only one that might take the job if he offered it. He's taking the Waratahs to the quarterfinals. It's his best achievement. I mean, we went from Michael Checker, who's taking the Waratahs to win Super Rugby, right? We went from Robbie Deans coaching the Crusaders to win with the Crusaders. To Coleman. I mean, no disrespect to Darren Coleman, but you can see that the level of coaching has been significantly decaying. And this guy, if he doesn't go, no one is going to join. It doesn't matter how much money. No one's going to come here and have the career ridden into the ground and get sacked 10 months before the Rugby World Cup again, right? No one's going to do that. So Ryan Crotty has returned to New Zealand, back to the Crusaders, and good to see the return of one of the legends. So there are some talks about, obviously, the Lions tours coming up. A lot of hype on Andy Farrell potentially getting the job for that game. And finally, the England Rugby has proposed, a more centralized approach to their core players, which I think is quite smart. So they basically said that England Rugby will be paying the clubs a small amount of money, essentially, and the players a small amount of additional money to basically have a say on what they want the players to do throughout the season, throughout the season. So if you play for England, the England Rugby might say, hey, I need you to take a week off before Six Nations, and the club will have to oblige. Essentially, that's basically the sort of things that they will be able to do to have a say on the direction of the player. And also, if they say, hey, we need Marcus Smith to play at fullback because he's playing fullback in the national team, the club will also have to oblige that to put him in a fullback position for his for the Harlequins as well. So there are some things that they can do that may go against the wishes of the clubs, but they're looking at a bigger picture to make England rugby a better, a more kind of aligned direction going forward. I mean, England is having that problem of having too many talented players at fly half, and they'll probably have to talk to their clubs about adjusting the positions a little bit and get everybody aligned going forward to play the right positions for the rugby, for the team going to the Rugby World Cups in the future. So yeah, that's I think a really smart approach from England. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and cheers.